Um, there's this quote that the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. And I don't believe that this is a time for wasted rhetoric. I don't believe that this is a time for us to just experiment on ideas. I believe that this is a time for us to put in the work and put in the action. And before I go any further, once again, my heart, my thoughts, my prayers go out to all the families of the victims of those who were senselessly murdered and injured throughout this particular incident today at the Jacksonville landing. My objective for sharing this is that I don't want this to be repeated. I don't want these type of incidents to happen again in our city. But once again, if you do the same thing and expect a different result, it is a definition of insanity. From shootings in schools, football games, public places, this is an opportunity for us to unite in action and not unite in words. And this is an opportunity for our city officials to put their money where their mouth is, because this is bigger than just a North Side issue. This is a Jacksonville issue. And we got to make sure that we're restructuring our resources to make sure that we can combat these type of behaviors. When you look at this type of shooting on this level, and please understand, I'm not sympathizing with the shooter. I'm just bringing about a realization. And the realization is that hurt people hurt people. We as a community, as leaders, as pastors, elders, preachers, mothers, fathers, principals, police officers, judges, physicians, doctors, nurses, we have to wrap our arms around our community to where this is one city. And I talk to people all the time. They believe that Jacksonville is split up into two parts, the north side and the rest of Jacksonville. Well, in order for us to prevent these type of behaviors and actions from occurring again, it's going to take a unified front. I work with young children, and oftentimes their stress and their behaviors go unnoticed because they haven't been taught proper outlets for certain emotions. And whenever you're dealing with adults who act like children, it's because those behaviors have gone unaddressed for decades. And we cannot allow for these type of behaviors to go unaddressed. And I'm not talking about consequences. I'm talking about realigning and modification. We got to be able to provide behavioral modification, behavioral realignment, conflict and resolution. We have been so social media driven that we forgot how to communicate with each other. Once again, my heart and prayers go out to all these families. When I tell you, I was literally out here last night and I was looking at all the possibilities that downtown Jacksonville has for tourism, for trade, for travel, that's going to bring about urban revitalization, that's going to bring about revitalization to our city. And the last thing on my mind was getting shot, intentionally or accidentally. I was riding the bike down Bay, down Laura, through the landing, behind the landing, up and down the river, and I don't think anyone was prepared for this. And speaking of preparation, I'm going to put this out here. This was not an act of God. I'm going to say that again. This was not an act of God. Yes, there is evil in the world. Yes, there is evil in people. However, this right here, this is not an act of God. But I will say, from an accountability perspective, this has been an act of negligence. Whenever you're not able to identify these type of behaviors to where they're escalating to a point that can get out of control, and we have not taught and trained our community how to de-escalate hostility, then we as leaders have failed. We have failed. I've sat down in meetings with the FBI. I've sat down in meetings with judges. I've sat down in meetings with state's attorneys and police officers. But if all we're doing is meeting, then we haven't done enough. We haven't done enough. We haven't done enough. We got a lot of work to do. I'm willing to sit down and talk at the table, but if all we're doing is talking, then don't call me. Don't call me. We got to teach our community, our citizens, that this type of behavior is unacceptable and it will not be tolerated in our city. And if we don't empower our youth and adults and our citizens to de-escalate these type of situations, then we are doomed to repeat the same process over and over and over again. Once again, big thanks to all of our first responders, JSO, Jacksonville Fire and Rescue, for making sure that you are out here expeditiously to prevent any further occurrences. And this is an all hands on deck initiative. Once again, this is not a time for empty rhetoric. This is a time for action. And to all those that were impacted on the situation, when it comes to coping, I would definitely make myself available, and all the organizations that I'm connected to available throughout this grieving process. It is unfair. It is unfortunate. And nobody should ever have to go through anything like this. And my vision for this city is that we will recover, we will respond, and we will revitalize. And my heart and prayers go out to all the families, to all the youth, and all those that experience this huge tragedy. But the way we prevent things like this from happening again is the actions that we take moving forward. As a martial artist and as a coach, I always teach our youth and our children that the most powerful weapon that you have is not your hands, it's not your elbows, it's not your feet, it's not your knees. The most powerful weapon that you have is your words. And we got to make sure that throughout this particular experience that we're not building barricades to keep us further apart, but that we're building bridges to where we are we're able to connect, and we're able to communicate like citizens of the same city in a civilized manner, and we can get past this criminality that has plagued our city. And to be clear, it hurts me to see white children, white men murdered, just as much as it hurts me to see black babies murdered. Nobody should ever have to go through anything like this. And this is an all hands on deck initiative. This is an all hands on deck action, not going through the motions. This is Nishan Nix. I'm out here live from the Jacksonville landing, and we're going to bounce back from this. We got great leaders. We got a great community, but it is an all hands on deck. All hands on deck from every aspect of our city, coming together to put action and not rhetoric to work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Once again, this is our city. This is our community. These are our youth. This is our future. And we're stronger together.